All right, guys, how are you doing today? I'm Mark with thermalhunting.com. We have a huge tournament lined up for this weekend coming to you. We have a bunch of big names lined up in the tournament. This is the 2022 Southern Coyote Classic. We're expecting 27, 28 teams for this tournament. We're expecting to have just a pile of coyotes at the end of it, and definitely looking forward to meeting everybody today and hearing how everybody's day went and finding out what worked, what didn't work. And with us today doing interviews, I have Chip Dillard, with pro staff member with us with thermalhunting.com, and also have Jared Basch as well. And we look forward to hopping into this and giving you guys some coverage of our tournament.
Okay, we're here at a tournament, and I've got Dustin and Amanda Williams from Perry, Florida, and Jeff Taylor. Jeff, where are you from?
I'm from Newberry.
Newberry.
Yes, sir. Okay. Just outside of Gainesville.
Okay, and we were talking about this because we're tournament hunting. I wanted to ask some tournament questions, but when I ask you how long you've been tournament hunting, you're going to say,
I typically don't tournament hunt.
Okay. Yeah, and you and Amanda typically hunt year-round down in that north central Florida.
North Florida, some of South Georgia.
Okay, and there's a lot of coyotes down in your area, and that's because of the agriculture.
We got a lot of agriculture, but we also have a lot of ground. So
yeah, you've got access to lots of acres.
And we have a predator control business that we stay with 12 months a year. And so we currently manage close to a little over 500,000 acres.
Wow, that's a lot of land.
Yes, sir.
A lot of land. Well, I know there's been a couple of years where you guys, at least a couple of years, where y'all have killed like 300 plus.
2020 we killed 347. Last year we killed 308, and currently we're sitting at 210 this year.
Okay. Wow, that's impressive. I've always been impressed with y'all's numbers. Okay, so and that answers the other question about how many tournaments you've been in. You just a handful, a couple.
Yeah, just a handful, yes, sir.
And you said you participated in the Eastern a few years ago.
I did.
All right, so if you are tournament hunting like this weekend, tell me about your prep that went into scouting your land and/or you're mapping out your stands, coordinating shots between partners. Where who's placing the call? I imagine that's all choreographed, isn't it?
Pretty much it is. I tell people all the time, we contribute most of our success to our daylight scouting. Me and Amanda put lots and lots of hours into it, and anytime we go hunt any place, whether it's someplace we hunt all the time, because it's agriculture, things are always changing. What crops, how high is the crop? Coyotes like certain crops they don't like. So we'll go scout anytime we hunt, and we typically hunt the weekends. We'll scout 3 to 4 hours, riding, looking, checking for tracks, make sure there's coyotes there, so we're not making blank sets. For the contest, Jeff done some scouting during the week because he was closer to our ground. Ride, look, just scan with a thermal, listen for coyotes. Then we all got together as a team, and we rode, listened, scouted, found where some coyotes was, and we killed all the coyotes that we seen Thursday night. We killed all those, but we knowed right where to go. We got in tight on them. They was very aggressive, so we just got in their area and inside their comfort zone. And typically when I hunt, we make very short sets.
Yeah, tell me about that. How long are you staying on the stand on a tournament hunt?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay.
Most of our coyotes are killed anywhere from 45 seconds to 3 minutes.
Wow, that's amazing.
We're looking for a very aggressive coyote. We're going to call the coyotes that want to be called, and we're going to move on. In turn, we don't educate a lot of coyotes. We're not going to play all kind of sounds to burn their ears and to educate them. So that's just what we don't want. Because the last thing we want to do is call, and then we leave, and then a coyote comes in. We want to call the coyotes that we pulled in there to kill them, and leave. Granted, everybody don't have the land to sustain that type of hunting, but we do hunt our properties once a month.
Okay.
So we don't.
So as much ground as you guys have, you're going to still hunt it about once a month.
Yes, for the most part, we're going to hunt it once a month just to keep it rotated.
Okay.
You know, you can't educate a dead coyote. If you pull into a place and you call a pair in, you kill a pair, it won't be long another pair will take that place. So you got a fresh set of ears there.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
You know, if you call a pair in and you miss them, you might want to give them a little time, bypass them.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, to that point, you know, there are some guys that'll say, like recently I had a guy on Facebook say he's been trying to get these coyotes right around his house, you know, and I got the impression after a couple of different comments that he's out there like every other night or, you know, every 3 or 4 nights throwing out sounds, and I think he's burned their ears.
Right. And I really believe, you know, once you burn a coyote's ears, he don't just recognize what sound's being played. He recognizes the frequency of a call. It don't matter what sound you play. He hears that frequency.
Yeah.
And he boogers from it.
Yeah. And so then, could you be successful on him with a mouth call?
When I get coyotes like that, I will kill most of them lip squeaking. Okay. And you know, if he don't come to a lip squeak, then you got to hunt him like a deer. Just get prepped for the long shot. Mm-hmm. So and you know, if you get a coyote that's in a certain area that you hunt, a field you hunt, and it's an educated coyote, until you get him killed, that spot's ruined. Because he's not going to let no coyotes come to you. He's going to give them warning barks, and he'll pull them off of them. We've seen him do it. Okay. Well, that's good information to know too. And then, what sounds like in a tournament are you using? Like you start a set with a howl, a pair howl, a pair howl, of some sort, or a lone howl. Granted, everything I use is MFK. Everybody knows I'm a big supporter of them. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to play some type of MFK howl. I mean, Tori has put out, you know, just an array of them, and then, you know, depending how the coyote answers me, if they answer, depends on my next sound. And sometimes if I'm in a smaller place, for instance, last night we pulled into a place, we heard some coyotes the night before. There was a big pack of coyotes there. We attained permission for that spot yesterday evening. We pulled in there. It was a small 25-acre hayfield. Pulled in there, went to howl. They cut us off, and we was like, boys, this is a big pack. And we didn't want them to just come flying in there 100 mile an hour, so I played a few whimpers. Next thing you know, here comes 6 running right in there to us, and we killed 5 of them. That was off the whimpers that got him in? Yeah, like those actually came to MFK good stuff. Okay. You know, just a whimper, you just wanted them to know, hey, there's a new coyote in your area. And they're territorial. Pup dispersals right now, you know, it's starting to happen. So you got all these pups, they're trying to establish dominance in their area and find a new area. Because they're having to feed themselves. Well, they're having to feed themselves, and they're just wanting to establish where they're at. So they've got an area, and the next thing you know, here's these new coyotes where they're trying to call home. So they're wanting to defend that. And they can all... I'm convinced that coyotes in an area they all know each other's howls and barks and yips, and so when you throw out a sound, it's like you're a new coyote, you know, an invader. We've sat and just, you know, you can't always go to kill a coyote. You got to go to watch him and learn him. And me and Amanda does a lot of that. You know, people see the big piles of coyotes we put up, but they don't. A lot of people don't understand what goes into that. So we'll go and we've watched groups of coyotes where if you got group A, you know, group B and C will honor those. But if group C howls, nothing in the area honor them. But if group A, everybody honors that group. Is that the dominant group? Or? I'm not going to say it's the dominant group, but that's, I mean, because they have territorial boundaries. Yeah. They just don't cross. Yeah. You know, and a lot of people don't realize that. It could be a fence line. It could be a road. One night me and Amanda was hunting, and we come by a field, and the wind was a little wrong. She said, hey, there's 2 coyotes in there, and they was working to the south. So, and we was traveling north. So, it was a group of 3 pivots, and you had a pivot on the north, a pivot on the south, and then you had a pivot on the southwest side. So we went around to southeast pivot, got in there and I started calling. Coyotes was moving good down out. We had done killed several coyotes, and they was responding real good to the call. So we called, the coyotes stepped up on the hill, they howled at us, and we only seen 2 originally, and next thing you know, there's 4 coyotes. They're just standing over on the hill. They wouldn't move, they'd howl, and they'd just carry on over there.
But they weren't coming.
They weren't coming, they was locked up, and I told the man, I said, that's a territorial boundary in that pivot. And it's just, it's just a pivot, and a lot of people don't know what a pivot is, but...
And the agriculture...
it's the big sprinkler system.
Yeah.
So what we done is the wind went shifting, we turned around and we went back around to the original place we seen them. Was up on a big hill. We pulled in there and looked, and now these 4 coyotes, they was in the southwest pivot. So we was in the north pivot on the west side, but on a big hill in a dry corner.
And you had started off that way because of the wind direction?
Right. When we seen them, I just didn't want to pull right in there on them.
Yeah.
So we went around the way they was going, and pivots are circles. So we went, and I said, hey, we'll just come to the southeast pivot, and we'll get on them right here, and they'll come on to us. It didn't work like that. So we stayed there for longer than what we really should have, and we stayed there 20 minutes. And I was like, hey man, we gotta move. So we come back around to the north side, and we got up on the hill and looked, and they was in this southwest pivot. I howled 1 time. All 4 of them turned around, didn't say nothing, and run just as hard as they could to us, and we killed all 4 of them.
Wow.
I mean, I was hunting one night and got some coyotes fired up, and I was at a 4-way intersection, and I was to the north of the 4-way, and some coyotes answered us. Well, a pack of coyotes was in a pivot on one side of the 4-way, on the east side, and a pack of coyotes was on the west side of the 4-way. And they come to each other to that road and stood on each side of that road and just argued back and forth. And raised Cain. We watched them and was like, okay, when they calmed down. So when they calmed down in a few minutes, they went one way. So we pulled in there to the east side, got up there, howled. Coyotes in my territory, here they come, wanting to fight. So they got shot, and then we went to the other side, done the same thing.
Yeah. What? Speaking of that, which caliber do you use?
I use a 224 Valkyrie.
224 Valkyrie. Have you had? And obviously you're having a lot of good luck with that.
Yes.
When those first came out, people were having issues with those.
They was having some free bore issues with them. They was really designed to shoot a 90 grain Sierra Max King. And there was some issues with them with the original reamers, and there was accuracy problems. But then come find out they shot a light bullet very well.
Okay.
And we hand loaded for a long time, but Jeff here on 1776 ammo, and we work together, and we've got a stellar 55 grain Sierra Blitz King load now.
So that's working well on that Valkyrie.
It's working extremely well.
Very well.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask you. My next question was, what ammo are you using? And you're using the ammo that Jeff produces.
That's right. Me and Jeff work together on a lot of stuff with the load development and the 224 Valkyrie load. I developed in my gun, and Jeff tested it. And we test our bullets in multiple hunting guns. We don't use a test barrel. So if you get some bullets from 1776 ammo, it is made in guns that we hunt with. It's not a test barrel. Yeah. So.
Well, you're obviously having great success with that ammunition, and you've done your homework on the research on the loads.
Yes, sir.
So that's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, before anything's turned out, we have done lots of testing, and once we, if Jeff develops he gets a load in a gun, he says, hey, I'm gonna send you some bullets. He sends me bullets, and I'll test them in different guns. So if we test them in 5 different guns, from custom rifles all the way to your lowest budget gun, it's got to shoot less than 1 inch in all of those.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Okay, I'm going to ask Amanda a question. Amanda, when you're hunting with your husband, does he early shoot you?
No.
He does not?
No.
He lets you shoot first?
We don't play that early shooting.
Okay, that's good.
It's a good way to lose coyotes, ain't it, Jeff?
It's a very good way.
Yeah.
We shooting simultaneously every time we shoot.
Yes. Now, how do you do the count? Do you go like 1, 2, boom?
When he stops.
When he stops.
Whenever he stops. Because so there's 3. There's 3 out there, and the 3 of you guys are on a stand.
Single coyotes coming.
No, I mean 3 coyotes coming.
If 3 coyotes is coming and we're sitting just like this, the coyote that's on the left is going to be Amanda's. It don't matter if he switches.
If they cross up, you get on your.
You always pick up the left one. So when there's 3 coyotes coming, I mean, obviously we're going to let them come until they're, one, till they get close. I mean, they're easier to hit the closer they are. So when they get to that point, we're talking to each other, we're communicating. I say, hey, when he stops, I'm going to stop him, and I'm going to ask Jeff, Jeff, is your stop? Yes, man, is your stop? Okay, y'all ready? 1, 2, 3, we shoot. Boom.
Okay.
If it's a single coyote, I say, hey, when he stops, we're going to shoot.
Yeah.
So when I bark on my diaphragm and he stops, he's getting shot 3 times.
Okay.
And if you're not ready, you just wasn't ready.
You're just late.
Well, that's what, I think that's for a lot of hunters that hunt in groups, it's sometimes hard to coordinate. You got 3 coyotes and you got 3 shooters. It's hard to coordinate that shot,
It is, but...
we also learn on the countdowns that you got a better chance of pulling it because you're anticipating.
You usually pull low.
Pull when you're doing the countdown?
Yeah.
Because you're naturally thinking of the other report of the other guns is you're kind of like a little bit of a flinch maybe.
Well, a lot of times you jerk the trigger, and we've got, obviously through the years we got better at that, And then it don't matter how many coyotes you call in, if you can't hit him, it don't matter.
Yeah.
So in turn, we do a lot of practice as a team on life-size coyote silhouettes where we've took coyotes we've killed and spray painted around them and cut cardboard cutouts and made steel silhouettes. And we'll pull out in the field and where we got silhouettes, and we'll practice, we like to practice at anywhere from 300 to 500. That way we know our holdovers. And, and since that's how you see a lot of the long shots made on our videos, the 400 or 500 yard shots, is because we've practiced that. That's just not something we said, we wung it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, we practice that. And we check our guns often. And we're on a set and you miss a coyote.
Yeah.
And we watch the video back and you go, I think I should have hit it. Before we leave that set, we're going to shoot that gun and make sure it's right.
That's impressive. And that goes to what, you're talking about the long shots, the practice, the research you guys do on the loads and what's the website
It's
for the ammunition?
1776ammo.com.
Okay, 1776ammo.com.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna have to give that a look.
Yes, sir.
Well, we're so happy to have you guys here in Warrior, Alabama, just to visit with us during this tournament. And you guys, just so everybody knows, they killed 38 coyotes in 2 nights. So, and they drove 11 hours? 7 hours to get here. So we appreciate you guys coming up here and participating, and hopefully you're gonna win a prize out there.
Hopefully so.
But thank you guys for coming.
Thanks for having us, Chip.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, I've got Jeremy Brown here from Maryland, and Jeremy is a big tournament hunter. I've known Jeremy for several years through Facebook, and Messenger, and if I ever had a question about something, Jeremy was always happy to answer it. So I want to talk about tournament hunting, because we're at a tournament where you and your team killed 48 coyotes. And that is a huge number of coyotes. And you guys I think y'all were in Mississippi.
Yeah, we were in Tupelo, out there.
In Tupelo, in that area.
Yep.
So tell me about, was it like mostly agricultural that you were hunting around?
Yeah, it was, we tried to focus more on the agricultural fields to just give us a bigger field of view for everything. But we had a lot of cattle ground too. So there was a lot of cattle operations that we hunted on. Okay. And we kind of bounced back and forth. Some of the spots we wanted to hunt weren't cut yet. So that kind of slowed us up, but it worked out.
Well, great. Well, now, how long have you been tournament hunting?
I hunted my first tournament in 2016, I believe, a local fox contest in Maryland. And then I took a whooping. and I don't like it. And ever since then, it's been like, well, I have to at least win one.
Right.
And then I started to do it, and I was like, oh, we can do better than that. So then we just started, and we just got into it.
Yeah.
It's just about all we do.
Okay. Well, so in that time period, you've probably been in a dozen or 20 tournaments or something like that. I mean, because I know they're the Eastern. Do they still do the Eastern?
There's not going to be one this year, which is a huge disappointment.
Okay.
But there is an elite this year, and there's a couple other big ones that we'll jump into. Okay. Half the reason we did this one is there's no Eastern.
Right.
So there's nothing else to prepare for. So I was like, well, we got to jump into something. And then this one popped up, and I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
So we just.
Well, we're happy to have you here. So tell me about your prep work when you're tournament hunting, because you're having to bounce around to different. You're obviously having to make a bunch of different stands.
Oh yeah.
So tell me about what do you scout, and then you're mapping out your stand locations, and then once you're on a stand, you're obviously coordinating who's putting out the caller, and then talk about shot coordination as far as.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So as far as prep work, really we do a lot of scouting. So we'll come to an area and look at it, and we've gone to probably 5 or 6 different areas in the U.S. and for the intention of hunting a contest, and not found the ground we wanted, and said, you know what, that's not going to pay off. Let's just go do another contest somewhere else, or let's look for something else. But we come out to everyone at least 2 days early. We want 2 full nights of scouting so that we can get an idea of what we're looking into, what we're looking at, and then we'll get an idea of, we always have a goal. So there's a goal number, and we always try to hit it. And that's just for us, I don't know, maybe it just helps keep us moving where we've got to hit a certain number.
Keeps you motivated.
Yeah, it keeps us motivated. So we're looking at, where we're at, how far from that we are, and that'll keep us pushing pretty hard. And then as far as shot coordination, I think that's the toughest thing for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
We struggled this weekend with it some, but it's something that you can work on. We're always a 3-2-1 shoot.
3-2-1.
3-2-1 shoot.
3-2-1 then shoot. Because some guys will go 1-2 shoot.
Yeah, we'll do 3-2-1 then shoot, and part of our preparation is practicing that.
Okay.
Like when we zero and stuff, we'll zero our guns, by ourselves, make sure that's all good. But we'll shoot together, a magazine or 2 before a hunt, and just practice that timing.
Yeah.
Making sure nobody's anticipating it and all that stuff. And I mean, if you do it well, it works out great. If you do it poorly, you shoot yourself in the foot. So
yeah. I think when we swapped texts the other day on Friday, I think y'all were in that prep phase where you were testing out your guns, and I think y'all had a baffled strike on a suppressor or something.
We had all the problems. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, they're going through it today.
Yeah, we went through it.
Well, talk about when you're 3 guys on a stand, and you got 3 coyotes coming in, and you got a guy on the left, center, and the right, obviously. And I'm assuming that if they cross, the coyotes cross, that you pick up whoever's on the left picks up the one that crossed to the left. Do you bark stop them? And then when do you know when everybody can shoot?
So we look at things pretty mathematically sometimes. So we'll look at and sometimes it's me. Sometimes I say, hey, I'm struggling, guys. I need to kill coyotes closer. Like, we have to let them cut. We have to work it, and that's just what's going to have to happen for us to maximize what we can do. But we'll look at it that way and just say, hey, whoever the weak link is, and I'm not saying there's a weak link on our team, but everyone has off nights and good nights.
Yeah, sure.
And so if we're struggling, we'll let them come closer. But usually when they break the 130, 120 yard mark or so, I just mute the call. Half the time they stop, half the time they want to run us over. If they start to run us over, I'll start growling at them, usually is my go-to. Just throw a couple growls in there, maybe a chirp or something a little bit different.
It slows them down. Yeah,
just slow them down into a trot, and we'll try to roll in that way. But yeah, I think we still try everything. It seems like we come up with a plan that we're going to bark them, and then all of a sudden you have 3 guys standing out in the field. One guy's making meow sounds or something weird, and one guy's barking, and we all just start yelling at the coyotes until it all goes to hell. But You know
Randy Booty up in Michigan. Randy will go, "That's close enough." He'll just start talking to him.
Yeah. Jake used to say, "You're dead," all the time. Yeah. And just in a loud, like, "You're dead," and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And then it would stop, and I'm like, "Well, I guess he was."
People tease me. I say that after I've shot him. I'll go, "You're dead."
Yeah.
But I don't intentionally do it all the time. It just comes out.
Yeah.
So all right. So What types? How long do you stay on a stand?
It
On
depends.
a tournament hunt?
Yeah, so it depends. Part of that pre-tournament scouting is how are they acting? You know, if they're being super aggressive, then we cut it short. I mean, under 10 minutes for sure.
Yeah.
If they're taking a while, we'll go to 12 or 15.
Okay.
But sometimes it's short. Sometimes it's 6 minutes.
Right.
This one was 7 or 8 minutes and we were out.
And you'll start out with like a howl or a pair howl, and then try to locate some close by you. And then maybe use it. What are you using? A distress, to really get them in, or?
Usually that's.
I'm just talking like a pup distress type.
Yeah. So as of recently, we change every contest. Those 2 nights of scouting are huge, monumental to figuring out what's triggering those coyotes at that time of year. I actually listen to John Collins a lot, and I watch what he's doing.
Me too.
The man knows coyotes, and if he's telling you that these sounds are working, he's probably right.
Yeah.
And especially if you're in that, central to southeast part of the country, he knows the area and he knows how to hunt them. So I listen to guys like that, but we always want coyotes to eat the rabbit. We want to play the rabbit because it's simple, and generally when coyotes come to that, they're just coming to full tilt. They're going to come, and that's it.
Yeah.
Vocals, you can start to get them messed up, or they start, almost wanting to be too vocal and howl at you too much. And I'm like, I just want you to come here. Fast. I need you to come fast. Or they'll trot to you, and I'm like, I need you to run. We're in a race.
Yeah, because you're on a time schedule.
But yeah, this weekend was all vocals. We did not kill a single coyote on
prey distress.
No,
yeah.
It was.
I didn't think so.
Pup distress. Pup distress killed them all. Clutch pup was the sound. It's not always, but that was this weekend.
Yeah. I know Matt Glenn used MFK. Was it fawn steak or deer steak? It's deer steak, I think.
Yeah, I think you told me about that.
He used that at least on one stand to call one in, but for me lately it's been all vocals.
Yep.
To locate and then to try to pull them in. And what I've done, I don't know if you've ever done this, like on that MFK table scraps. I'll sometimes I'll feather it. In other words, I'll play a little bit, and cut it off. Especially if I'm looking at one out there that's cautious, and then I play a little bit, and then cut it off.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever tried that, but that's worked for me, a few times.
It'll trigger them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll just trigger them to say, what's happening?
There's
and they get kind of confused.
There.
I switch it a lot. So when I go into those fight sequences, I have like 5 of them that are my favorites of all time. Yeah. And I'll take those 5 and I'll start playing one. And if they're swinging downwind too hard, I'll switch it to a different one. And a lot of times there's something in their heads that says, wait, something just changed. Maybe I should change. And they kind of change direction. Sometimes it's not for the better. But a lot of times if you can switch that sound or pause it for a second and then change it to a different sound, for some reason they'll start angling more towards us than downwind. So I do that a lot. I change sounds more than any other caller, I think. But I just cycle through sounds.
And you'll just go through sounds.
Yeah, I mean, if something's working, I'm not going to change it. I turn the volume down a lot. So if a coyote's running full tilt at 400 yards towards us, as it starts to get closer, I'll start turning the volume down a little bit. Turn the volume down. And a lot of times they'll check up if it's too loud, and then I have to turn it down real fast. So I just kind of try to do it with them.
Yeah, because if that caller's pointed at him out there, then he thinks he's right on top of whatever's making that sound. He's looking for visual confirmation of what I'm hearing.
Yep.
He's like going, where is it? Where's that coyote? I don't see it.
Yep. So I just try to keep him searching.
Yeah.
And not let him get a bead on exactly what's going on. But I don't know.
Well, that's fascinating. I mean, because and I think what I'm learning is a lot of tournament hunters will stay on a stand 5-7 minutes maybe, and I'm used to going to a property maybe staying an hour,
hanging out.
Hanging out.
I still like doing that sometimes,
and it's fun for me because I mean, sometimes I'll just be looking at the deer or something.
Yep.
But all right, now what caliber do you shoot, Jeremy?
I shoot a 6mm Creedmoor.
Okay, 6 Creedmoor.
Yeah. And
you've had good success with that, obviously.
Yeah, it's a good one.
What particular ammo are you running in that?
So I hand load all my ammo, but I'm running Nosler bullets are it. I won't go to anything but a ballistic tip. A 70 grain ballistic tip.
Okay.
Pushed about as hard as you can push it is probably the greatest coyote killer that I think has ever been.
Yeah, I like that ballistic tip.
It's just a solid bullet. When it hits them, if you hit them anywhere good, they're going down.
It makes some damage.
Oh yeah. I mean, I look at this weekend, we shot and crippled, quite a few coyotes. Not one of them made it away from us. And it was, probably because they're missing a limb or something bad like that. But those
Yeah.
bullets, when they hit them hard, and if you push them fast, they're pretty flat. So I like them.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And how long have you had your association with Fox Pro?
Oh, that was, I think, 2017 was when I kind of got introduced to those guys at the Harrisburg Outdoor Show. And we were just coming off of killing a whole bunch of fox in the Eastern contest, and they kind of just really asked us to hang out.
And that was you and Mike Burgess?
That was me and Mike Burgess,
Yeah,
yep.
okay.
So we hung out for a couple days at the Harrisburg show.
Yeah.
They showed us around. We ended up hanging out at the booth most of the time.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, Mike Dillon was kind of just like, all right, so get a bag, put some hoodies and stuff in there, all that stuff,
Here you go.
welcome. I was like, what?
You're like, what?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Well, they're nice guys. I mean, all those guys I've ever met have been nice guys. And,
Yeah.
And obviously on Facebook, you see a lot of Big Al and,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
John Collins has been, like you mentioned him earlier, he's been very helpful to me
Oh, yeah.
with sound selection. One of those was that young coyote howls
Mm-hmm.
off the Fox Pro, and this was a couple of years ago, I think, and especially in that August, September, July, August, September.
Yep.
This is a very effective sound.
Oh, it kills a lot of coyotes.
Yeah.
A lot of coyotes.
Yeah.
That's a good time of year, and everyone hates calling that time of year.
Yeah.
It can be miserable outside and the mosquitoes or whatever, but I love it. It's an easy time to get coyotes that are separated for the first time or starting to separate more, and you can trick them pretty easy sometimes.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, listen, man, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the fact that you guys came up here, or it came down here from Maryland, and I know it's a long drive, and you got to go back, and I also know that you are in law enforcement.
Yes, sir.
And we appreciate your service.
Oh, thanks, man.
And come back and see us.
We will. I'll be back for sure.
Okay.
Thanks, Chip.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yep. See
Okay,
ya.
buddy.
Hey, we'd like to give a huge shout out to all of our sponsors for the 2022 Coyote Classic. Envision has sponsored this event along with AGM, who gave out a free AGM adder. iRay USA, Pulsar. Definitely want to thank you guys. 1776 Ammo brought a bunch of ammo out of Florida for our hunters to try out, which was awesome. And then Fox Pro, we just got set up with Fox Pro, so we now have Fox Pro on our website, thermalhunting.com, and Fox Pro brought in a lot of good stuff for our hunters today to be giveaways. So definitely want to thank our sponsors for helping us out with today's event.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm here with Matt Glenn from Chelsea, Alabama, and Matt, I've hunted with now for about a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
We've probably hunted together 4 times together, something like that. We've had a couple of good nights and a couple of good stands where we killed 5 on a stand twice, I think.
Yep, one color phase on one.
Yeah. So we've had some good shared experiences. So how long you've been tournament hunting? This is going to be a short, because you've only been coyote hunting that night now for.
I've entered 3 tournaments. I placed in my first one 3rd overall.
Mm-hmm.
My second one was 4th. This one here was pretty difficult. I'm going up against some good guys.
We had some big hitters in this tournament.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So tell me, Matt, about your prep work when you know you're going to tournament hunt on a weekend. What do you do as far as you're mapping out stands, or how do you do that, or any scouting you do?
So normally, what I do is I'll get on my Onyx, look at all my spots, and I map it out to where the timing, of course, is important. You want to try to get from one place to the next as fast as possible, when you're done with the first stand. So I try to coordinate everything to be in a line to where I never backtrack. You never want to get down the road and say, oh, I forgot that place, and then go back to it. And typically in tournament hunts, I try to get everything at least a mile or so apart, if possible, or within 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to help a lot.
Mm-hmm. Are you locating? Are you doing any locating the night or two before?
Typically, if I'm going to do a shotgun stand,
Mm-hmm.
I try to wake up, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll go locate the dogs, may go run and get a biscuit. I give them a little time, and then I'll get back in there and get the wind right on them and work in there to them.
Okay. Now talk about coordinating shots between partners, because I think you had a 3-man team. Most of the guys in this tournament did have a 3-man team, and you all have to be hunting together on a stand where you're, visible in the videos and so forth. So you've got three shooters. So it's explained to how you would go about if you've got 3 coyotes coming in. How do you handle that with 3 shooters?
All right, so if 3 coyotes were coming in, of course you're going to be in a line. So no matter how the coyotes change as they're coming to us, the man that's on the furthest right is always going to shoot the right dog. The one that's farthest to the right, no matter how they switch coming through the field, it's always going to be the one in the right. The man in the middle is going to shoot the middle dog, and then the man on the left will shoot the one that's furthest to the left, or maybe towards the back. But usually, if there's a coyote hanging up on back, whoever can shoot the best long range, you want to get him first, at least, on 3, and then, get the other ones follow up, because they're going to still be closer than the one that's on out.
Okay, so but on that one that's in the back, that's hung up, you're going to all 3 key on him and try to put him down first?
Normally,
or just one guy?
One guy.
Okay.
Like, normally I shoot the further coyote because I run the halo.
Right.
So normally that's what I'll do, is shoot the furthest one, knock him down, and then as soon as he hits the ground, I try to follow up,
with one of the other 2. If there's 2 dogs coming in, 2 of you'll say, okay, you're communicating constantly, and you're saying, I'm on the one on the right, I'm on the one on the left, and then maybe your third shooter's, he's picking up one of the 2.
Yeah, because typically too, when you have 3 coyotes coming in, a lot of times they're all not going to stop at the same time. So sometimes you just have to, it's not really a 1, 2, 3 count. It's when your coyote stops, knock him down.
Knock him down.
Yep.
And you and I have shared stands, so we've talked about that before. If we're on multiple dogs, and I've told Matt this, if your coyote stops, when we bark stop them, if your coyote stops, shoot it. Don't worry about my coyote. If mine's still moving, I'll try to get him on the run.
Absolutely.
But you would definitely want to at least put 1 dog down when you're doing that. Okay. All right, now how long do you stay on a stand when you're tournament hunting?
So tournament hunting, this tournament, I treated it a little bit different than the previous ones, because I knew it was going to take a number.
Yeah, a high number, yeah.
So the week before, I would go out, and I call it a practice. I would turn the call on, see how I would turn my timer on my phone, and I would see how long it took for the coyote to respond to the call. And as soon as he cleared the wood line, I would stop it. I would go to the next stand. After I killed him, turn it on again, start the call, see how long it takes for him to respond. Then when I get home, I look at all my times. And I just divide them up, and it's going to give me a time.
An average. Yeah.
So that average may change the next night, but you want to typically stay, like this weekend, I was anywhere from 6 to 10 minutes to stand, and I would have a coyote on the ground.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to waste any time.
Yeah. So if you got a dry stand, you're not hearing anything, and that 5 minutes that you're playing sounds, and you're typically starting off a stand with a howl or a pair howl or a group howl, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And then after that, if you've got some to respond, say you got a group out there that's responding to you, and that group's 300 yards away or 400 yards away, what type sound are you going to throw out there then to try to get them to come to you?
typically if they're far off, I'll go straight into a medium aggressive pup distress, and it seems to pull them in faster for a tournament. Not saying you couldn't go to a rabbit distress or maybe a fawn distress, but to me, in my experience, they come in a little bit slower to a fawn or a rabbit or rodent maybe, versus when you put on that fight. That fight makes them hard charge across the field, and that also buys you time on getting the coyote to you, because you don't want to have him come out at 300 and trot across a little bit and stop and listen, and you want him to get there as fast as possible, put him on the ground, and move on.
And get gone.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's what, the tournament hunting is so different from the way you and I typically hunt, because we're typically out there, we're taking our time, we're not thinking really about 5-10 minutes like that. Have you used, I guess you're using a lot of MFK sounds right now.
This weekend I used I did run a little bit of TT Dillard. I run some MFK Pound Town, MFK Table Scraps. I did kill a coyote off of the MFK Deer Steak. But that's really what I used, other than there was one time I had some pups out in the cornfield. I just threw some nutty nuthatch at them, pulled them right to me, and knocked them down.
I've also found that to be true, and you and I have talked about this different occasions, where if you're looking, you got eyeballs on a coyote out in the field, we'll throw something out there softer, like if they're really close, you can use a Vol Squeaks on the Fox Pro, or if they're out there, you can use that nutty nuthatch.
One thing that did happen to me is I had a coyote out in the field. It was the big male that I killed. I figured, just throw some pup fight at him. Well, really, when I turned it on initially, it spooked him, but then he turned back around and hard charged the call. But I've never had it happen just putting some subtle sound like nutty nuthatch. They always just perk up and they're on their way. So I don't know if throwing a fight at them right out of the gate, if that may run them off. I know a pup, they're kind of timid to some aggressive stuff. I'm not saying they won't come to it, because they will. I've killed them. And like that goes back to if at different times of the year, you got the young ones. Typically, the young ones are on the ground and out looking around in July, and then August. They can be more timid than an adult, mature coyote. So you have to be careful about what sound you. I've thrown distress sounds at them, and been laying eyes on them out there, say 300 yards, and with like a bird or a rabbit distress, and have them just dead run away from me, and the wind be fine, and I know it's in a spot where I haven't overcalled. So that goes back to there's no absolutes in coyote hunting as far as sounds. I think I've been thinking about the pups here lately, and just some of the things that I've had happen. Same thing, running them off just to a subtle sound, just like nutty nuthatch. I'm just wondering if it takes them a little time to realize what that sound is, where when they start catching their own prey, that sound kind of locks in their head. So then when they hear it, they're like, oh, I've caught that before.
Yeah.
But before they've actually caught and killed a rabbit or heard that sound.
Or heard mom and dad or somebody catch that sound.
I feel like that's just a strange sound, just as slamming the door on a pickup truck. You know?
I agree with you. So, and then what caliber do you shoot?
I run a 6.5 Grendel.
Okay.
123 grain ELD match.
And who makes that round?
Hornady.
Okay. So you're using Hornady as well.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm always curious about what people what caliber they're running and what particular ammo they're running, because we're all particular about our ammo, and a lot, your gun, you can find your gun shoots a particular round better than others.
Yeah, and it's 6.5 Grendel is a hard round to find. You're not typically going to find it in the store. You have to get on like Ammo Seek or something like that to find it. But me and that gun work, and I have no reason to switch to anything.
Yeah.
Every time I pull the trigger on that gun, it drops them, just like a hammer. And
well, that goes to you got to feel confident about your equipment.
absolutely.
Not only your marksmanship, but your equipment. You've got to have confidence in that equipment.
And another thing, these ARs, you've got to keep them clean.
Yes.
Because I'm telling you, you don't want to be in a tournament and you get out there, have 4 or 5 coyotes come in and your gun only shoot once.
Yeah.
That's the most aggravating thing.
Yeah.
If I shoot 10 rounds out of my gun, it gets broke down, cleaned, put back together. I go out and make a test fire, make sure it's still on. That's another big prep thing for tournaments. Just because you went out the night before and shot a coyote, still take your gun out, put it on paper, make sure.
Check the zero.
Because you don't want to get out there, miss the first coyote, and then be thinking, "Oh, is my gun off?" It's a little late now.
Yeah, I agree. Well, all right. Well, we'll I just wanted to discuss about tournament hunting today. We'll probably get into some other discussions in another time, and we'll probably share some stands between now and then.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks, Matt. Appreciate the time.
You too.
All right, guys, we're wrapping up today's tournament. This is a conclusion of the 2022 Southern Coyote Classic. Chip, you met with a lot of very experienced hunters today, and just wanted to ask you kind of in conclusion here, what was your biggest takeaway? What was the biggest shock or surprise or something that you just like, oh, wow, I never really thought about taking that approach hunting coyotes after meeting with all of our hunters today?
Well, yeah, I had the privilege to interview several of the guys that hunted in the tournament, and several things jumped out at me. One of them is how short of a time they spent on stands. Some of these guys will spend 5 to 7 minutes on a stand, where I'm like used to, hunting like an hour on the stand. The other thing that Dustin Williams mentioned was the moon. He really pays attention to the moon.
Sure.
Setting and rising and setting.
Yeah, and and I was talking to Jeremy Brown and his crew, and they were mentioning how they, he said, they typically play a howl and they go straight into a fight, and if the coyotes aren't there in 5 or 6 minutes, then they're on to the next set. And I think if you have the ground, I think that makes very good sense, because I think a lot of times those coyotes are coming in those first 5 or 6 minutes, and I guess if you if you do the math on it, if you're going to win these tournaments and put the numbers up to win the tournaments, then you're going to have to make a ton of sets.
Yeah,
so that was definitely a good takeaway from the tournament. Absolutely.
Yeah, which was a stark contrast from tournament hunting to just the kind of hunting that we normally do, where we're hunting maybe 3 or 4 farms maybe in a night.
Yes.
Where we'll spend more time at a farm, and coyotes kind of wander in and out of your sound area.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to see the ground some of these hunters covered, like the actual amount of ground they actually covered in this tournament.
Yeah. I've done a lot of hunting out west, and and out there the land is so vast and wide open that I could see the ability to be able to go set to set to set, and and I'm sure some of the connections that these hunters have, with the name that they made for themselves, I'm sure they have just an unlimited amount of ground to be able to do stuff like that. So
yeah.
Well, Mark, you hunted in the tournament for us. I know you're running that new Fox Pro collar. How'd it do?
Yes, sir. Yeah, so I've been running the new Fox Pro X24. We just started carrying Fox Pro. I just became a dealer for them on our website, thermalhunting.com. And I like the X24. I think the X24 playing those 24-bit sounds, I think that sound is unmatched. I think that the MFK sounds are unmatched currently. I do as well use James Bostic sounds, TT, a lot of TT sounds, some of the Fox Pro sounds, stock Fox Pro sounds, but I'm really liking the X24. I like the lit up remote. I like the quality of the collar. I'll always have my Lucky Duck with me as well, but it was a huge. We killed 17 coyotes this tournament, and I think that was part of the reason why.
So would you say it's a more crisp, natural sound?
Absolutely. I think that 24-bit sound is just irreplaceable.
I agree.
Just the realism behind it. It's definitely going to be in my truck from now on out.
Okay, that's good to know. Good to know.
So anyways, we are going to draw this up to a conclusion. Once again, thanks a lot to all of our sponsors. We could not have done this without you guys. Everyone was walking away with stuff in their hands. I don't think anyone left empty-handed. So definitely, once again, thanks to all of our sponsors. And we'll see you guys again next year. We have every intention to run this again.
And don't forget to go to thermalhunting.com for all your thermal needs.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.